lonesome road set my soul on fire. Thinking back before I left, the passions I desire. Can you help me anymore?
Hey, Happy New Year, Yorma.
Back at you, big guy.
Here we are, our first show of 2026.
Wow, 2026.
We had a real nice first season, and you know it's cool on our Fur Peace Ranch YouTube channel because I was checking it out and it says first season, and you click on that and then all 11 episodes are listed in order, and it makes it real easy.
But now we're in the second season.
Second season. Boy, I was so glad. I was hoping our producers wouldn't cancel the show after the first year. But of course, because we've had such good response,
Right.
and we thank you folks out there for tuning in. And the nice thing about our program is you don't have to hear it live. You can listen to it the next day and the next day or the next day.
And it's free.
And it's still free, Yorma.
Still free.
Still free, yep.
Boy free.
Well, welcome everybody. We're glad to be here with you, and we got a lot to talk about today. We, as you may remember, we ended 2025, our season. We were talking about Yorma's new Wabash Avenue record, and we hardly got to really scratch the surface.
No pun intended,
no
since
pun
we're talking about vinyl.
Yeah, no pun intended. Because you know we wouldn't scratch that
We
surface.
would not.
But we're going to come back to that. But we want to talk about a couple things that are current type things and talk to Yorma about this before we get started. And while we had such a great end of the year, our new year has started with some sad news on January 10th. One of the great iconic musicians in American music and dear friend to Yorma over the many years, Bob Weir, has passed away. And boy, it really caught me deeply by surprise, and Vanessa calling me, and then all of a sudden the phone started ringing as the word got out there, and you know, friends check in and stuff, because he was such a big part of our history, the people I hang with and stuff growing up, and years of going to Grateful Dead shows and all that kind of stuff. But Yorma, I just thought I'd ask you, maybe talk about Bobby a little bit, and then how about when you guys first met all those years ago?
Yeah, well, this would really hit close to home for all of us. But yeah, I guess back in, when you say back in the day, you have to like zero in on which day you're talking about being back in. But I guess I would say in the early '60s, before all the rock and roll stuff happened and whatnot. Bobby was already a talented young player, and he was one of Jerry's sidekicks, and the guys would all show up at gigs, and we'd go see them play, and so all these characters we're talking about, we've been around since Rocks and Water.
Yeah, you surely have been. And I saw in one of the pieces where Bob talked about Jerry Kaukkonen and
right.
picking up a lot of guitar from your playing and stuff. So, like when we're talking about Wabash Avenue was recorded before Jefferson Airplane, we were doing solo stuff. So you knew him at that point.
Right.
And so they were probably in the process of becoming the Grateful Dead. Maybe they weren't even the Grateful Dead yet.
That's probably the Warlocks still.
Yeah.
And also, Bobby was always a really studious guy. I mean, I didn't know this at the time. I guess he's been quoted as saying that he'd watch me play and learn stuff and whatnot, But I know that when Reverend Davis was still alive, he actually went and took lessons from Reverend Davis.
Went out to New York City?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Which, I mean, he went right to the source. It's just really cool.
That is to the root.
That is to the root, and a lot of people are aware of this also, but if you look at the way he does his guitar part for Samson Delilah, even though he's not a quote-unquote fingerstyle guitar player, the chord shapes and stuff like that are, the genesis goes right back to the Reverend.
Mm-hmm.
But mutated in the Bobby way, of course, but definitely Reverend sourced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, talk about just an incredible rhythm guitar player. Not that he didn't throw in some lead work as well, but his rhythm guitar playing was just, you know, just one of the. You also, with Paul Kantner being in the group, had one of the greatest rhythm guitar players.
Right.
You put those guys together, they're in the top of the.
Right, and
what
you
they
look
did.
at both those guys, like both Paul and Bobby. You know, the rhythm section, as we all know, is the most important part of the band, and the sound that the audience hears definitely springs from the rhythm section. So, the sound of the Grateful Dead. I mean, obviously, it's a, you know, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, but that rhythm sound of Bobby and Phil and the drummers and all that stuff, you know, just like, yeah, good stuff.
It made a strong background for Jerry to play over, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, I got to meet Bobby a few times with you, and of course he'd show up at the Sweetwater when
Right.
you were there in Marin, and he's on the Sweetwater record, playing with you on the Walkin' Blues and another song. But that would happen kind of regularly when you were on the West Coast. He might drop.
Yeah, I
in.
mean, we've been friends for a long time, and you know, if I was in town and he wasn't working, he'd almost always stop by, and you know, if he felt like it and brought a guitar, we'd pick a tune together, and if not, we'd reminisce and
Yeah,
talk about our kids,
yeah.
etc.
Yeah, I remember when I went out with you one time to his house when you were doing the thing that Michael Nash was doing with the Satchel Paige thing.
Right.
I don't know if that ever had any, came to any kind of fruition at all. But I know you, we went over there and kind of recorded almost like in a garage that was made into a studio at that time.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was a real studio. He had a lot of money in that studio.
Yeah, it seemed like it progressed though as the years went by.
Of course, as these things do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
My
well,
goodness, yeah. Well, he'll be sorely missed, that's for sure. And
yeah, he sure will be.
but you know, he left a lot of really deep footprints behind, and you know, as an artist and as a commentator on you know, the fabric of our social fabric in general. You know, he was a sage guy in a lot of ways. He's a very sage guy.
Yeah, it's very impressive that, you know, after Jerry's passing, which, you know, could submarine most of bands, losing a key member like that, that he kept that whole thing alive with the different incarnations of Dead spin-off bands, and then the Dead and Company was really a tremendous band.
Yeah, in a really creative way without being a quote-unquote cover band.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Well, if anybody could bring the material of that,
Yeah.
the Grateful Dead to life, it sure was Bobby there. And really, boy, what a run. I mean.
Indeed, what a run.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the last time I would have seen was when he was with the Wolf Brothers and they came through Columbus. And even that was a very cool thing, you know.
Where'd they play in
They
Columbus?
played Mershon Auditorium on Ohio State campus. And the interesting thing, I went with my brother Pete to the show, and when I was in college at Ohio State, the Dead actually played Mershon. It was like 47 years earlier, like I guess it was around 75.
Wow, who's counting, right?
Yeah, but you know, he said something about that during the concert. He said, I played this place a long time ago. Yeah, so, well, anyhow, we're thinking about Bob and what a tremendous life, musical legacy he leaves
Indeed.
behind. Yep. All right. Well, another thing I want to get to before we get back to the Wabash Avenue is the man has just celebrated his birthday. Let's see, was it a 7-week celebration?
Yeah,
maybe? I think we started around November 1st.
Yeah, we
in
celebrated
Washington,
as long as we
DC.
possibly could.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you're always setting the bar, but I like this idea of, you know, 85 being like a long birthday party.
Yeah.
And
We could have had 85 birthdays.
hey, maybe we'll do that for 86.
Maybe.
You know? But anyhow, your comments, let me get you a little bit on that, is first off, I imagine it was a little bit of pressure for you putting this whole thing together. Of course, you had Vanessa's great help and the different guests for all these different shows and how nice it mixed with things you did. Some of the guests, of course, fell right into things, and then a couple were like people I'd never seen you play with before, and it worked out real well.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, you have a great idea, and Vanessa and I had a great idea with a lot of these guests and stuff like that, and she, of course, brought some to the table that, that she was familiar with that probably wouldn't have been on my radar, but, it all really worked out great. I think you get together, some of the people I knew socially better than others, but we all speak the same language, and, just getting together, and it's hard to be misunderstood when you're playing good music.
Yeah, and you're playing with the right people.
That's
too.
absolutely.
Well, you started in D.C., and that seemed appropriate because there was a place that was very dear to your career.
Yeah, I mean, D.C. is my hometown, and yeah, I'm not sure it was scripted this way or that's the way it worked out because of the bookings. I don't know. We'll have to talk to Vanessa about that sometime.
My guess it was scripted because she's on top of that kind of stuff. And probably more scription than we could imagine.
Probably.
So going from D.C. is a great start. That's on November 1st, and then the party continues.
It did.
As you move on to Carnegie.
Right.
Which is, again, I know you've played there a couple times.
I have played there a couple times over the years, but I remember I was walking backstage and one of the gals that's probably been working at Carnegie Hall forever, we're just talking to people, and she goes, "Does it feel special to play Carnegie Hall?" And I said, "Absolutely." Mm-hmm. There's just something about it. It's Carnegie Hall.
Right. Can you put something on that as far as the special? Is it the room itself, the acoustics, the look of the room? Because it is a beautiful looking room.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, they have the best of the best, and this stuff has always been state of the art over the years. But I mean, you think about it. I was playing on the same stage that Jascha Heifetz played on. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on,
I was going to ask you that because I know you got exposed to a lot of music as a young man from your family and stuff. Had you, as a youth, gone to Carnegie Hall for some shows or anything?
I've been to Constitution Hall in D.C. as a kid, but not Carnegie Hall in New York. Yeah.
So when you went to Carnegie Hall to play, your first time there was really like your first time going there.
Yeah, and that would have been back. I couldn't give you the date on it, but it was, a half a lifetime ago with Hot Tuna, and actually as a result of that performance, this is an urban legend lost in antiquity, but our fans, many of whom fortunately are still alive today, God bless you folks, but we were all a little bit younger back then and probably less socially refined, and to make a long story short, the band, the Tuna band of that era was so loud that pieces of plaster were falling off the ceiling.
Was this during the Rampage years?
If you want to call it that. It was during the loud years, yeah. Uh-huh. And I believe the audience was probably rampaging too, so there was a long period of time when Carnegie Hall was not interested in Hot Tuna playing again. Since then, however, we have greened into productive adults.
Yes. No more shattering the ceiling and nothing falling off.
None.
Well, that's the reason you turn on to this podcast, because you get this behind the scenes information, because people have been wondering all these years, why didn't they have Hot Tuna back? Now you know why. So after Carnegie, Jorma, you moved out to the West Coast, San Francisco, which is, of course, another city very dear to your career.
Yeah.
And I was very honored and blessed to be out there with you as a...
I remember seeing you there.
Yeah, I remember seeing you as a special guest. And boy, but there were so many special things, of course, when you were there. They're all special for you, I realize, because everything is a different thing, but it was so special for me. And being in such a beautiful room, that Masonic Auditorium in San Francisco,
that's an awesome room.
Just beautiful. And well, I know all your shows were sold out and you had full houses, but it was a real enthusiastic. It felt like a hometown crowd again.
Totally.
And the lineup was so special. And you had your brother Peter come out with you for the first couple of numbers, and that was so cool to see. And,
was indeed.
You guys, after not playing music together for a while,
for a lifetime,
it seemed like it just was right there again.
Yeah, it's like riding a bicycle.
Yeah. So you both rode real well.
We did.
We
did.
Yeah. So that was a very, very special thing to see Pete out there again, and of course I enjoyed getting out there, and like I say, Vanessa and you all did a great job scripting things. Everything went so bing, 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 just a real nice, smooth transitions and stuff.
It was a good time, and also this has nothing to do with the musical experience, but the culinary experience about being in the Bay Area is off the charts too. We ate a bunch of good food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and boy, the people at the Masonic did a beautiful job on
They sure did. They sure did.
Backstage area and everything was
Yep.
really, really, really nice. And having Bruce Colburn come up and play with you was
That's
just
big fun.
was fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, every aspect about the show, every second of music was off the charts as far as I was concerned. But the mixing up of things and the different performers all brought a different feeling to the songs.
Yeah,
And,
totally.
Bruce, boy, I walked out toward the front of the house so I could hear him. And of course, he's such a great singer, songwriter.
He's a heavyweight cat.
But your lead work with him was just again really showed off a real beautiful side of your accompanying.
Yeah, that was
accompanying him. I'd be
honor.
surprised if he doesn't call you and ask you to play lead on the next
anytime.
record. You know,
Anytime.
and.
Then we had Sam Grisman
Sam
too.
Grisman
of course.
was so cool, and that we're going to talk about that song, the Ellen Smith, when we talk about the Wabash
Sure.
Avenue record. But that was so cool that he sang that song. And,
Right.
And him and Jack doing double bass stuff together was just so cool. I mean,
Totally.
you can't script how
No,
cool
you
these
can't.
things turned out. I was so glad you and I had got our rehearsal, and as I was out walking through Japantown where we were staying, and Vanessa had given me a call and said, "Get over here, get back to the hotel, they're rehearsing." And I was so glad I did, but that was such a cool rehearsal, seeing everybody in the big circle and working everything out. But it's just like magic. Nothing seemed like it was hard to do. It just worked so well.
And Derek and Susan, of
Derek
course.
and Susan being there. I got to finally hear Ross that you've talked about.
Yeah, Ross Guerin.
Ross Guerin, and boy, he is a super harp player. I love how he plays.
He's a deep musical cat.
Yeah.
And his voice, his access to us happens to be the harmonica.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for bringing him around, Jack. And speaking of Jack, I believe Jack was there too.
Yeah, and boy, we were happy to see Mr. Jack. You know, he had missed the Carnegie, and we were so glad his doctors have said he's doing so well. And
it turned out to just be a false alarm. But, you know, honestly, and I find myself saying this more and more as time goes on, but at our age, you just can't fool around. You got to...
No. That's the reality of getting older. You gotta pay attention.
Something like that.
If you're smart about it, you will. And but it was so cool that he it was like, wow, Jack's gonna drive up, and that was real special. And yeah, thanks Jack for doing that.
Good time.
And but him and Sam worked really well playing acoustic bass with the electric bass.
Yeah, that was
kind of
awesome.
Nice little thing happening there.
Yep.
And so yeah, you are everything, and of course, Ed and Susan, boy, she's just so great. Again, everything about them, the playing, her singing, her great vibe, you know.
Yeah, and the fact that they're just the nicest people in the world.
People, yeah. And it was cool to hear Derek playing, you know, instead of electric, playing that National for that he had, you know, that kept with the acoustic kind of thing.
Yeah,
going,
I remember
you know.
we were. Gosh, it was right. It was not that long after 9/11 because they hadn't built the new buildings down there yet. But we did a show. I did an acoustic show there. Cindy Castoller was on it. Derek was on that show also, and you know, we were all playing acoustic guitars, and he did what you saw him do. Just
Oh yeah,
picked up a guitar, and guess what? He sounded just like Derek. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. There's something really neat about the sound when you're keeping it in that all acoustic format like that.
I mean, it's a different animal, you know. I mean, people always talk about, you know, what do you prefer playing most, acoustic or electric, and I just say it's a different beast altogether. You know, there certainly is something seductive about the power of electric instruments, and there's stuff you can do, but then there's just something so first person about.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody beside us noticed that too, but Derek, I mean, again, acoustic instruments. Well, actually, here's the old J50 from
oh boy.
Wabash Ave. Now, this one doesn't have a pickup on it, but But I'm, you know, in my quote unquote acoustic show, I'm always plugged into something because that's life.
Yeah.
I believe even you were plugged into something
You
we
got to
played
plug
together.
in, Norman. You got to plug in.
But Derek wasn't plugged in anything. That
just
was
had
an
a- yeah.
acoustic instrument on a microphone.
Yeah, and of course that guitar, by just the
National
guitar has a lot of sound.
As a National, yeah.
Yeah, just like
Yep.
So the mic really brought out. But yeah, that really kept. And I'll tell you, the bottleneck kind of sound.
I know.
Just so cool, you know. And
I wish I learned how to play that.
Oh, come on now. And so everything, and then of course you closed out in Denver. I believe it was about 7 weeks after the beginning of the party.
It was a long birthday celebration.
And again, what a cool show! You have, of course, your Hot Tuna gang with you, and Jack
did,
drove across, and the whole thing. But our Carlos Nakai and Will Clipman,
David
as a
Hidalgo.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that our Carlos Nakai Will Clipman thing would seem like a little bit of a wow, you know. Great Native American flutist, arguably the greatest.
Yeah, arguably, yeah.
And you know,
Yeah.
his record Canyon Trilogy is a platinum-selling, biggest-selling Native American album
That's
ever.
that Grammy winning.
And I know when he's come through the ranch a few times that you've got to play with him, and it was always just so cool. Again, very improv thing, which
Yeah.
they're both great at as well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like I remember. I knew when we quote unquote had a rehearsal that nothing we did at the rehearsal would have anything to do with what happened on stage, and I was pretty.
Is that how it turned out?
Absolutely, you know. But that's really the cool thing about it. I mean, it's like, what do you want to do? And they just looked at me and said, just start playing. Now, one of the things I thought about, you know, with R. Carlos playing these handmade wind instruments. One wonders, are they tuned to pitch? But silly me, of course they were tuned to pitch, you know.
Yeah, he has an array of those different flutes, and that's
Yeah, and they were all
different.
tuned to a Western scale, so other instruments, in this case like me, could play with them. Yeah.
Yeah, that made it nice. Yeah, and the couple things I've heard, Ross blended in with him real well.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, so
Yeah, when
that's-
Ross was playing that bass harmonica, which is pretty darn slick, I remember somebody, I forget who it was that said that, one of my sort of acerbic wag musician friends, but a sound like that, he says, like a cross between a lap dance and a high colonic.
Well, that's putting it right there.
That really does.
Yeah, I'll listen to that song with new ears from now
Yeah.
on, you know. Yeah. Okay, you are. That's poetic, at least.
It was. Yeah, no, it was awesome. We had, I mean,
Kind of like Charles Bukowski poetic.
it's, totally. But the bottom line of it, of all this stuff, is that it was. There were a lot of great conversations were had.
Yeah. It was a beautiful thing. Well, you know, I don't want to seem cliche in asking you this, but Yorma, you're in your 86th year. We were celebrating your 85th, which was on December 23rd.
Was.
And how does it feel being 85 years old? I mean, I'm 15 years younger than you, and there's sometimes I think about when I was a young man how things have gone, and you know,
Right.
when you think, boy, I was 70, it seemed like it was so old, you know, and now you realize 70 is just middle age, you know.
Geez, I wish I was 70 again.
And you're 85. And do you have any words of wisdom for our Roads and Roads audience out there about just the idea of getting older and how you're feeling about things?
Well, first of all, one of my doctors a number of years ago doing a physical said, Yorma, your mom and dad, a debt of gratitude for your genetics. That has, in my case, it had a lot to do with it. I've been lucky. But all that being said, you know, there's more miles on this old frame than there used to be, and you just kind of have to watch your step. Like, for example, I would never walk up or down a flight of stairs today without holding onto the railing. And the other thing for the guys of my eyes who wear glasses, if you're walking up and down stairs, especially downstairs, take your glasses off. Hang them on the front of your shirt like all us old guys do, and watch where you put your feet.
And then you got to remember where you put your glasses.
Well, that's why you hang it on your shirt.
You hope that will help.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does you know, you
Of course, that doesn't stop you from saying, "Hey, Johnny, where'd I put my glasses?"
No, but you know, you got to rely on your friends for that kind of
Right,
stuff.
of course.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying about holding on. You know,
I'm telling you.
hip surgery and stuff like that. I know they tell you that you don't want to fall. So
No.
if I've got a long staircase, I'm holding on. I'm
I
right
hear
there,
you,
I'm
me
right there
too.
with you. You know. Now you know there's 20 when you were 25, I'd say in Jefferson Airplane, and 85 must have seemed like something that was your grandparents' age. That you know,
Oh.
my God, that's so old. That's just
My
so
grandparents
far.
didn't live that
Didn't
old.
live that long.
I mean, you know, back in the era that my grandparents grew up, when they were in their late 50s, they were old people. And I don't just say that because everybody over 25 looked old to me back then. I mean, they were old people. That's how it was.
Yeah, things have changed a lot over the time.
Yeah.
You know, even I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, and I guess people are aging maybe better or longer.
That's a different trip.
in our period.
Now, that being said, you know, your dad, who was probably a decade younger than my dad, still, your dad lived to be
98.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job, Ray. I miss you, buddy.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah.
Well, very cool, Yorma. Well, we appreciate you having a birthday. It sure was fun to be part of it. And, you know, I think 85, maybe we should plan for another one of these at the 90th.
Absolutely.
You know? And maybe because you did 7 weeks for 85, we could do 8 weeks.
I think for my 90th one, I'm going to go skydiving while I play Embryonic Journey
I got to see
on
this.
the old J50 on the way down.
I love it. I love it. I mean, we could use that as a good promo for the whole 90th birthday tour.
Right.
You know,
Come see Yorma jump.
I love it. I love it. All right, Yorma, I'm going to go back to
What do you got?
we're going to go back
Uh-oh.
to Wabash Avenue because
Back to Wabash.
we had started talking about this at the end of last show, and we hardly had any time to really get into just a few songs, but
Here, hold up this thing. There
wow,
it is, folks.
look at that. Very cool. Hold on, let me see.
Didn't have all those cracks in
look
it
at
back
that.
then, but
Artist as a young man. Yep. Looks very close to the same look, Yorma. Hair got a little grayer.
Yeah,
got a
it
little
did.
grayer.
a little lesser too.
J50 looks like it's held up real well.
Yeah, but all things considered, it's held up really well. Yeah.
That's good to see it out again.
Yeah, it's a
Yep,
58.
That's the guitar.
It's not a youngster anymore.
No, but Yorma, I hate to tell you this. Only you are.
Right.
Only you are. Wabash Avenue Culture Factory.
Cool package.
We talked about how great the package was last time.
Oh, is that an Obi strip in your hand?
Obi strip. We love these, and Culture Factory is big on these, as the Japanese imports always were as well. But you know, the record, aside from how beautiful it is, and I'm going to grace over that because we talked a little bit about that. Kevin Morgan artwork, again, beautifully done. The actual wrapping that Yorma mailed it to himself in, and we talked about how that got him his copyright and stuff, and all the liner notes are just fantastic as well.
What color is the record
Here you go. Here, take this one.
Oh, let's just.
Look at
Oh, you don't need to.
that.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and you know what the deal is, Yorma. That's a beautiful shade. How about the other one?
How many grams is that?
Let me get my. I'd say it's 180.
You're good, John.
Yeah. Let me check. The
How do you
notes.
get this record out of here? Is there a manual for getting the records out of these days?
Let me see here, Yorma.
Here, you're a record guy.
This one here was a little bit.
Look at that.
It come right up the top. Oh,
I'm waiting.
You know, if you keep turning
yeah.
around, you eventually
I
get
know.
to it. You know. Yeah. That's it. Good.
Awful nice.
I love the tape book with the tape artwork. with
Yeah,
it
there's
as well.
the box.
That was the box.
Yeah,
that was
Vanessa
the box.
found it as it was on the way to the dumpster.
Boy, yes. Well, as we talked about, I'm so glad she saved that.
As am I.
And also Ricky Sanchez, our dear brother. What great work he did to preserve this, and boy, everything. You know, it's like this with everything. The music was so strong there to
Yeah.
begin with, but
Yeah.
preserving it and whatever. I
yeah.
think Ricky said he didn't have to do a whole lot because it was so well done, but he had
Yeah.
to do some stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, he's a master.
He
and,
is.
And he took good care of it. But the Wabash Avenue, and we had went through a few songs talking about it last time, Yorma. We talked about Come Back Baby, and the first side, Come Back Baby, San Francisco Bay Blues, Kansas City Blues, and the Morning Blues, Follow the Drinking Chord. Some of these songs are still part of the live show.
Absolutely.
And, I was wondering about the In the Morning Blues, and then on,
Sure.
of course, and then on side, here it is, John, on side 2 we have the Late in the Evening. And
Yeah, so in the Morning Blues, it's an A blues as I recall, and I was pretty much just winging it with the words.
now on the Jefferson Airplane record they had that song In the Morning, but this doesn't have anything to do with
No,
that at all.
no.
And didn't the thought of that you had that song didn't go into the title or anything at all?
No, nothing.
Completely a different thing.
Yep.
Now you had your In the Morning Blues and the Late in the Evening and
Morning and evening. Ooh.
I like that how you put that together. Was that? Of course, that was consciously done, I'm sure.
The unconscious mind was so powerful there.
Yeah.
We didn't need any conscious input.
Now, that In the Morning Blues, that wasn't like an outtake on like that early flight Jefferson Airplane.
No.
Okay. Well, how about that one in the evening? Seems like that there's some kind of outtake on one of that early flight thing.
You know something? Honestly, John, I really don't remember.
I'll
I'd have to.
Okay, I'll look
Well, we
into
need to
it.
research this.
We'll
a little
research
bit.
it for our next episode a little
Yeah.
bit here. And, I Follow the Drinking Gourd is so cool.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, you got words on this.
Sure. Well, it's a great song, and in the beginning, back around this period of time, I didn't really do a lot of instrumentals. I just did songs. But the Follow the Drinking Gourd thing just lent itself at some point. I mean, I forget. So it was just such a fun thing to play. I really loved the song, but it's sort of the instrumental aspect of it sort of grew legs on its own.
Yeah, that was going to
yeah.
be my question,
Yeah.
Norma, is at what point did the lyrics fall off and it just became an instrumental?
Just over the years of playing it, And I think back in the beginning, I probably would have played it for the most part with lyrics, but when it began to expand into a more instrumental thing, I think because I did it in the '90s when I was doing that playing with Pete Sears and Michael Falzerano. We really stretched it out as an instrumental thing, and maybe I'd only do a verse or something.
Oh, you'd sing a little bit.
A little bit.
Uh-huh. And that was kind of a song that was out there, right? It was like
Oh, Follow the Drinking Gourd?
Yeah.
Well, it's been out there since the Civil War.
I was thinking like a folk song, but not really.
Yeah, I mean the history of it. To look up the history is interesting. It's really a map of the Underground Railroad. All those things, all
that's why they were
the
talking
landmarks and
follow,
stuff.
yeah.
That's heading north out of the south. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So just kind of like thing that happened.
Yep.
The lyrics got dropped
Right.
along the way because it's like I know when you do it, people love the instrumental. It's like great to hear you play that.
Well, it's a great, and again, it's a great set of changes. And I mean, that's just how the song was. I didn't write those changes, but it lent itself to doing other things than just playing the song.
Yeah, and you know what? Having it as an instrumental, I nothing about the singing part. I love how you sang it as well, but the instrumental, it just without the words being there, I just sonically feel like it's like a trip, a journey.
Yeah, no, it's a
has,
seductive set of changes. I agree. Yeah.
And now that you're saying it was for the Underground Railroad, it does feel like a journeying type song.
Yeah.
Like it leads you through there. All right, Yorma. So one thing I wanted to say is some of these songs on here, I notice your delivery is slower.
Right.
The approach. than in some of the later day versions that you would do.
Right, and I think it's better like that. I mean, me and some of my pals talk about this a lot. Doing songs too fast is an affliction of just being too comfortable with the instrument. I think in terms of delivery and communicating whatever the message of the song is, slower is always better.
Mm-hmm. And it's just something that the more you played it, it just picked up more.
I think you just start thinking about it less as a song and just playing the song. It's just what happens a lot of times with doing things. You forget what the original tempo was. But when I'm talking to people, doing a class of some sort, and talking about actually playing a song, especially with a band, but with yourself also, my mantra is figure out, a tempo you think is going to be comfortable, just whatever and then slow it down even more than that, and then it will only be a little too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just the affliction,
just something
playing
that happens.
stuff.
Yeah. And it was cool to see how these, like I say, anybody when they pick up on the record or the CD, you'll see a lot of songs like "The Dime for a Beer" is another one that I feel it's a much slower tempo here than how you picked it up over the years.
Right.
The "Keep on Truckin' Mama," again, a little bit of the same thing here. But it is so cool to see the evolution of how the songs did. It'd be nice you evolve them back to the beginning and start doing them slow again.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
Yeah, it is once you get going, isn't it?
But I think honestly, for the most part, it's better slower, as a rule. I would say.
Slow and low.
Easy does it.
Let it cook. Let it cook.
One song at a time.
Once again, just like when we talked about the Reno Road record, you have a lot of Reverend's material represented on here.
Right.
And one thing I wondered is, when you were doing, so here in 1964, you're performing these songs live, and I'm looking here, we got several of the Reverend songs on here. Would you have people in the audience that would maybe come up to you afterwards and say, "What's that 12 Gates to the City? Where'd you get that from?"
Okay,
were you like someone that, I know you were turning on people and actually the rock world, the world to the Reverend music. You did, you mentioned Bobby going and having lessons with the Reverend, and we know so many of our people like Roy and Ernie Hawkins,
Woody,
and Stephen Grossman, and Woody had those those experiences in Bromberg, getting to study with the Reverend stuff. But,
Ernie Hawkins.
Yeah, but you personally, through your music and playing the Rev, I would have to say probably turned on more people in the music world. I could say this, you don't have to. I could say this because I know I never knew who Reverend Gary Davis was until I got a Yorma record, and then I saw, who's this Reverend Gary Davis here that's on this song?
So a number of years ago, I don't know, sometime within the last 20 years, I got doing an interview, and the interviewer said, "What are you proudest of in your life?" And I said, "After my children, turning people on to Reverend Gary Davis."
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, because I imagine, I just was thinking about this as I mentioned to you. I was listening to this morning on the system to get psyched up for the podcast today, and you got Jelly Roll Morton, you got Blind Blake, you got Blind Fuller, you got the Rev, and among your contemporaries, I'm sure some people were hip to these players, but in a lot of ways, it reminds me of our young friend Ian here at the ranch. I'll hear him when he's helping out and working sometimes, and he's listening to something. I'll say, "Who is that you're listening to?" "It's Blind Willie McTell." And I remember one time a couple years ago saying to him, "Do your friends listen to this?" And he said, no, but I listen, And now you were with a group of people that were a little more...
So you have to understand, I was the young guy when we did this. But the generation was ahead of me, like Ian Buchanan, Dave Van Ronk, and that whole huge potpourri of guys who are older than me that have been playing this music for way longer than me. But I was the gateway, because of the Jefferson Airplane, really.
Yeah.
Was the gateway to bring the stuff out.
To a bigger
audience.
audience.
Not to say that, and I don't mean to take a lot of credit for that, but just circumstance, because of the Airplane being in a top 40 band there for about 20 seconds.
Sure.
allowed me to play stuff. And I goes, well, that's pretty cool. Where'd that come from? And then people go down the rabbit hole and realize what a rich mine that is down there. To mix my metaphors.
I understand. Yeah, when we were talking about it and the places where this was recorded and stuff, and you were saying how they were a listening room type thing,
Right.
And they weren't big places. You said kind of like a coffee house size.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's how it was.
the term listening room didn't exist back then, because it's not that. I mean, sure, they were listening over the roar of the espresso machine. It wasn't like everything was quiet because a performance was happening. And this was like, affordable entertainment. But they were there to listen.
They were there to listen.
And like when I would go to coffee houses before I moved to California back east and stuff like that, it didn't matter what the environment, how the environment, sullied the audio atmosphere. You were just there to hear and see what was going on.
And you could hear the music rising above all that
exactly.
stuff. And so again, with that being a crowd like that, I mean, I just think about even today how people come up to talk after musicians after they're playing and ask you about things. And I imagine you made yourself available as you were packing up your guitar and stuff.
Of course.
And so, did you find that with people coming up and saying, "Wow, who's Blind Boy Fuller?" All that kind of stuff.
I mean, in this day and age, just because it's the information age and all that kind of stuff, you just don't get as much of that anymore because so much is available to people that like this kind of music. But that being said, every now and then there's somebody who'll show up. Maybe one of their family members brought up to a show, or they had a free ticket. Whoever was coming had nothing else to do at that moment, and all of a sudden, whatever they heard and saw set them on fire. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, very, very cool, man. Very, very cool. All right. Now, the 12 Gates of the City, the Rev song.
Yep.
And of course, I just love the song. And
I wish I hadn't let that go. I might have to try to get it back again.
Yeah, and it seems slow here. Now, didn't you do that on one of your later solo records?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think I did it after this period at all.
That wasn't the one that Ernie helped you on.
No. That was
That Stars in My Crown.
Stars in My Crown.
Okay,
yeah.
you are. So, because the 12 Gates of the City, it is a complicated song.
Yeah.
And
Larry Campbell has a killer version of 12 Gates of the City. He didn't let it go.
Yeah. So in other words, you probably stopped playing that at some point.
I let a lot of these songs, because right around the time that all this started to happen, I got in Jefferson Airplane and never played those songs again.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember reading that in your liner notes in here, how you mentioned that it took a decade because you kind of moved away from it.
Yeah.
So you had all this like in your foundation already,
Right.
and then being the Jefferson Airplane, these kind of took a back seat as you had other new musical endeavors.
Yeah, I had other stuff I needed to learn how to do because I never played lead guitar. I never played rock and roll before.
I was wondering, and this is a question I had for later on, but since we're here right now, I'd check it out with the Jefferson Airplane and stuff. So, such an acoustic musician in your early days and stuff, and then you're going to the electric. Now, say if you were sitting around your house and you're playing, you would always pull out the acoustic for that.
Yeah, I would never just play. Over the years and to this day, I have never just played electric guitar without playing with other people.
And when you got in the band, did that take up so much of your time that some of the acoustic blues stuff?
Yeah, all we did when I got into the band, all we did was rehearse.
I know you said that before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, literally, like some of these songs, like San Francisco Bay Blues and stuff that used to play all the time, they really kind of
Well,
dropped.
San Francisco Blues is one I didn't let go, but you're right. So a lot of this other stuff that didn't, for whatever reason, it just kind of fell in the background, and it's like, I mean, listening to these old recordings here, it's like, that's a cool song. I should probably relearn that again.
Yeah.
And maybe I will.
And it's interesting, the Keep on Truckin' Mama.
Sure.
Obviously, you've been playing that for a long time,
Yeah.
too. Now, is that a song come from Ian days?
Yeah.
And then it took you to the third Hot Tuna record before it came on a record.
That's right. It just never made the cut for whatever reason. Who knows?
Yeah, so you had a lot of things up your sleeve.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's very cool. And even like I say, when you hear this, like 9 Pound Hammer, sounds a lot different than you would do it today.
Yeah.
It seems like the rhythm part is different. But we go to Search My Heart, it sounds a lot like what you do today.
Yeah.
And let's gear up a song to listen to, because as
Oh, what do you have
as we move through this record, I love that one, Lord, I'll Be With You Always.
Yeah, that's one I should revive again. That's a good song.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll be with you in time of trouble.
you know, Yorm, if this record hadn't come out, I would never have known about that song. You
And
know?
if this record hadn't come out, I probably wouldn't have thought about it again.
Thank God this record came out. Where's Vanessa? We got to thank her for not throwing that out.
Thanks,
Oh, there
Vanessa.
she is. Let's hear a little bit of something. I want to listen to this 15 and a half blues. And
the
I'm
heck?
gonna bring it up on the old radio here.
How's this
but,
radio work?
I got to tune it in. But yeah, let's listen to a little bit of it, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Okay.
Let me give it a little volume. Sounds familiar.
It's like the end of Man's Fate.
Very rev sounding, by the way, there. All right.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, I'm just blowing there. But there's a lot of stuff that is percolating in my brain that found homes in real songs later on.
Yes, well, that's
You
that's
know
what
what I mean by real songs.
Yeah, well, that's what I hear, Yorma, and you know, yeah. So it had some very cool parts here, but you hear the Man's Fate in there, obviously.
Yeah.
So a Man's Fate would come out really years later.
Yeah, what year is this again?
Well, this is '64.
Yeah, years later,
And was that just somewhere up here, and
Just blowing.
and it got revisited when you decided to call it Man's Fate and work it into that song?
You know something? That's a good question. It's probably been mutating over the years.
Yeah.
Marinating.
Well, that was so cool, and you know, hearing something like that and going, wow, 15 Act Blues, that sounds like it turned into something else, and it really did. Now, before I move on, I want to play another song, but I do want to go back to something here on side 2. I overlooked. I want to talk about this song called Lower Depths, because when I listen to that song, I think, God, this is acoustic psychedelic music before even the Jefferson Airplane. You know,
Sure.
where I would maybe think that because the Jefferson Airplane style, that rubbed off on your playing afterwards. But this song, I was listening to it, and I'm going, wow, this is so, the changes are cool, everything about it. Tell us a little bit about that song.
When I was going to the University of Santa Clara, the head of the theater department was a guy named Roger Gross. He wound up at the University of Arkansas and has since passed away. But they were doing a theater production of Maxim Gorky's play called The Lower Depths, and Roger asked me if I would just sit there while the play was going on, being, you know, people in the audience and stuff like that. The play was being performed. That's the word I was looking for, and just play whatever I felt according to the lyrics and stuff. I mean, the lyrics, the script and stuff like that, which is what I did. And somewhere, Roger, before he passed, actually sent us that tapes, and somewhere, Vanessa, we have that box that says Lower Depths on it that has that play. We should find it. Hopefully it hasn't gone away. But anyway, so basically I'm there at the theater. I think it was called the Lighthouse. I forget what our local theater was called. Anyway, and just listening to the actors recite the lines and playing
playing
whatever,
along with it.
and playing along with it, really, yeah.
That's incredible. Incredible.
Yeah.
So they just let you do what, you didn't have any kind of charts or anything. You're just playing whatever you felt like.
Whatever the performance inspired in me.
Uh-huh.
And it was recorded, and as a result, that we have.
Yes. Well, that is so cool because I mean it's a very neat song.
Yeah. So in this thing here, this is obviously not. There's obviously a part of that lower depths thing that had some kind of cohesion as a song that was able to be replicatable in some way. Otherwise, we wouldn't have it here.
Right.
But somewhere there's a reel-to-reel of the whole thing for the whole play.
I think we might have to talk to Culture Factory about the whole lower depths.
If we can find the lower depths, it's.
But it just was so cool, and so like I said, because your acoustic blues definitely has a foundation there for you as
Sure.
well. But when I listen to this, I don't know if maybe your Pakistani time there that it
Who knows?
dwarfed it in or something. But the music is not like a folk song or a blues song. It's like an improvisational piece.
Yeah.
Because it was.
And the other thing too is like if you think about the years back when this came out, I still hadn't been playing, as an acoustic guitar player. I had not been doing it for that long. If this is before
1964,
that's
a couple
60.
years?
Yeah, 4 years at the most.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because Reno Road was 60.
Yeah. So I'm still experimenting and learning and that kind of stuff. And the good news about this is, because that's the kind of stuff you can't replicate when you get older. Oh yeah, it'll come back. No, it won't. But as a result of this actually being a part of a performance and being recorded, there it is.
Yeah, that's so neat. Now let me ask you, because it was a play, I mean, did you do this multiple times or was it a one-off type thing?
I remember it as being a one-off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, they must have had you in the hot spot there because you're playing it and you had an audience there and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And you're doing it. Boy, you did good. You did really good. Let's hear another song that our audience will know under a different title, but on this record here, Jorma, it's a song called Blood-Stained Banders. And on the other side of the music, we're going to talk about this.
We
Let me
will.
see if I can't bring this in on. Okay.
Now if you want to get to heaven, over on the other shore, stay out of the way of the blood-stained bandit. Oh, good shepherd, feed my sheep. One for Paul, one for silence, one for to make my heart rejoice. Can't you hear my lambs are calling? Oh, good shepherd, feed my sheep.
Yeah, cool. And
People that are
yeah.
smart enough to go out there and purchase this beautiful record or download or CD, whatever you do, they'll get treated to the 5-minute version, but because of our limited time, we just give you a little taste, but I'll tell you the whole 5 minutes is just terrific. So, Jorma, let me ask you something here because it just popped in. When someone had sent in some questions when we were taking questions,
Sure.
and someone had written, they said, "Did Jorma write Good Shepherd?" And someone corrected them, then they said, "No, he did not write it. It's an old song called Blood-Stained Banders."
Right.
And then someone said, is it a cover of an Ian Buchanan song, an arrangement from an Alan Lomax recording? And
No to both of those.
yeah, so this is not one of the songs.
No.
Ian
I learned the song from a guy named Roger Perkins. He was a California folk singer. And I didn't know until many years later where it came from. It's actually written by and recorded originally by a guy named Jimmy Struther. I forget the year on that, but this is all a matter of record because the recording itself is in a Library of Congress collection, and it was called Blood-Stained Banders, and the banders had to do with the armbands of the Ku Klux Klan. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, when I learned the song, what I heard was, I don't even know what Roger said, what I heard was Blood-Stained Bandits, and that's how I did the song, and it's how I do the song today. However, I have listened to the Library of Congress version, and it is these chord changes, very idiosyncratic for a blues-esque song, and I guess Jimmy Struther, I guess he was in prison down there somewhere.
Yeah,
he was an abused spouse, and he was blind, and I guess he shot his wife. I guess he wasn't completely blind, or it was a terrible accident.
He had a good ear. He had a good ear.
Hard to say, but. Somewhere in our collection of stuff, I have a copy of the letter that he wrote to the Department of Prisons and the ones that they got back from him when they finally paroled him and he went to live the latter part of his life in Baltimore, I believe. But yeah, I don't know if he did any other songs. It'd be interesting to find that out sometime.
I was going to ask you, did he have any record?
Something. I've never taken the initiative to look into this, but yeah,
it's such a strong song, and of course it was with you here as a young guy at 64.
Right.
It was a big part of the Volunteers record. I mean, my favorite song on the record.
And it was the first song I learned in drop D tuning also. And out of that sprang Embryonic Journey and a myriad of down the years of Jorma drop D songs.
Mm-hmm. And Jorma, I'd have to say it still is a crowd favorite. Whenever you start that up,
it's a great song.
It's got a very recognizable how you do the beginning there and stuff. And I let our podcast audience know that that was the song Jorma had selected for the San Francisco Jam on his birthday, and it's on YouTube. I'd seen someone that's got that up there. But boy, what a version!
What a killer jam!
What a version that was, boy! It was just unbelievable. We come to side 4 of this wonderful record, Wabash Avenue. Here, Jorma's one of his recent recordings from 1964.
Side 4, nobody can count that high.
Yeah, so we're podcasters. You are here. We start this side 4 with Poor Ellen Smith, with Jorma singing it. Now, when we were in San Francisco for the birthday party, he had Sam Grisman come out on a stand-up bass and did a great job of singing the song, and Jorma accompanying him. What's the story behind Poor Ellen Smith?
Yeah, so when I was in New York in the summer of 1960, I was hanging around with some bluegrassy, old-timey people, and there was this gal named Ellen Fuchs that I played with, learned to play with for a while when I was back there, and she did all these songs like that, Carter Family songs, Rose Maddox songs, et cetera, and that was one of the songs that I accompanied her doing, but I just really liked the song. And it was fun to play, and I was back in those days, I was still doing a bunch of stuff with a flat pick, so I've let that go, but it's a speedy little number.
Yeah, it's a cool song.
How was she found?
Yeah, and now on this record they list that as traditional, as they do 9 Pound Hammer, and it's funny from sometimes and also Follow the Drinking Gourd listed as traditional, which I certainly can understand on that.
Yeah.
Merle Travis, does he get credit for 9 Pound, or is that something he just did?
I believe I would have to look it up, John. I believe on his recordings he certainly got the stuff.
Yeah, I always thought he was the writer on that.
But
interesting the difference between traditional and then you can get back to something older.
Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to look that up.
Well, listen, we're getting toward the end of the program. We got a couple more things we just have to hear. I want to put on. We got a version here on this record of Wine and Boy Blues. Again, a
Ooh.
song that big part of Jorma's discography. His set list. It's still a favorite. But on this version here, you get to hear Steve Mann, Jorma's
Correct.
friend,
The great Steve
playing
Mann.
with him. The great Steve Mann. Let's go ahead and do the same thing where we listen to a little bit of the song, and then we'll talk about it on the other side, the music.
Now just a whining boy, and I don't deny my name. Well, now I'm just a whining boy, and I don't deny my name. Well, now I'm a whining boy, don't deny my name. Can't pick it up and shake it like sweet Stevie Jane. Now just a whining boy, don't deny my name. Well, now, mama, take a look at Sid.
Is that Steve here? Is that Steve? That
Well,
little lady?
mama, take a look at Sid.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on there. Like, Steve was like light years ahead of me in his general knowledge of, being a professional musician. He'd done a lot of studio work and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you played, back in those days, it was like you get two fingerstyle guitar players playing together, and generally speaking, it didn't sound that good because everybody's playing too much. Because us younger players hadn't learned how to lighten up a little bit and
Reserve,
just yeah, exactly. But Steve knew how to do that stuff. So Steve is like playing these beautiful little filigreed licks and stuff like that, and also it starts off in double time and mutates down into straight time. I mean, it's a pretty nifty little recording and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And
It really is. And your style of playing, I mean, you could hear Jorma's guitar parts in that song.
Right.
And so when I'd hear the other thing, I think, oh, that must be Steve. But it sounded like you would do something and then he would follow with something
Right.
and stuff.
he was a master at that. Yeah.
Now, Jorma, was he your age or was he a little older?
We were probably the same age. He's been gone for a while now. Yeah, some sad stories about him. He's worth looking up. He had some mental issues over the years, largely exacerbated by him being part of that government MK Ultra experiments, where they gave him some powerful psychedelic drugs and basically blew him away. The story is that he took a bust of some sort, and they gave him a choice of doing some time or being part of the program. He should have chosen the time,
Yeah.
but anyway.
They fried him. But Jorma, was it like something that would, when you were like with Steve being a guest here, would there be times when you'd be playing at like these coffee houses or listening rooms where someone would just show up like with Steve? Was this like a one-off, or would he show up once in a while to hear you?
No,
play
he
it?
moved up to San Jose for a bit. Actually, he shared a house with me for a while. So Steve Mann is the 12-string guitar in Sonny and Cher's "I've Got You, Babe."
Okay.
I mean, he was like an LA studio. Him and Mac Rabenek, Dr. John, did all kinds of sessions back in those. Played with the Beach Boys, did all kinds of stuff. So he wasn't just an advanced, whatever you want to call it, folk blues style fingerstyle guitar player. He did all sorts of things. But I mean, whenever you played with him, he was one of these guys that just had just impeccable musical taste and just never played anything but the right thing.
Yeah, it sure sounds like it. We're going to wrap it up here because our time is running out on this podcast, but I do want to say there's another song that follows the Steve Mann and Jorma duet on the Wine and Boy. We got a song called Lullaby. That's a beautiful song, just beautiful song. And then a very, very fun part of this record is we close off the record with an interview with one of your favorite interviewers, Vanessa Kalkinen.
Wow.
Asking you the questions. And that's very, very cool too. And, you know, I'm sure Vanessa and you've heard this as well, but from friends of mine that listen to the record, they said that was so cool to hear Vanessa and Jorma talking. You know, it was very, very neat. And was that a great idea from the Culture Factory folks? Is that what that was? Something they thought of? That those people have some great ideas.
They do.
I tell you, we really love our Culture Factory friends. Well, we're going to wrap up the first episode of season 2. Here from the Reverend Gary Davis living room here in Athens, Ohio. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Yep.
We've got a great year ahead. We got some great things coming up, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning on in. Little theme music on the way out.
Road, set my soul on fire.